Okay, so here's the thing we're not considering.
Okay.
We're always like, Selena can't be the best assassin. What if all the other assassins legitimately suck? Wait, let me make sure I'm muted.
Okay. Let us begin with chapter 4. Another hefty chapter. Because it's an even number. Selena absolutely hated that it took a fair amount of courage to enter the royal library after coming upon that ellipse thing a few nights ago. And more than that, she hated it.
Is she just fine now?
She's just fine now. No lasting paresis. No, I don't know. There might be something else. Maybe she's here to look for an antidote to her shaking hands. That thing a few nights ago. And more than that, she hated that the encounter had turned her favorite place in the castle into something unknown and possibly deadly. She felt a little foolish as she shoved open the towering oak doors to the library, armed to the teeth, most of her weapons concealed from sight. No need to have someone start asking why the king's champion was going to the library looking like she was going to walk onto a killing field. Not feeling at all inclined to go into Rifthold after last night, so literally the next night she's fine. The next day she's fine. She'd opted to spend the day digesting what she'd learned in Davis's office and searching for any connections between that book of weird marks and the king's plans. And since she'd only seen one hint of something being amiss in the castle, ellipse, well, she'd still her nerves to try to learn. Also, interesting thing, the last time there was an ellipse, Maas did not capitalize the word following, but this time she did.
Was the first one the end of a sentence somehow?
The first one was about her building up the courage to enter the royal library after coming upon that ... thing.
Capital thing or lowercase?
Lowercase thing. And then it was, and since she'd only seen one hint of something being amiss in the castle, well, she'd still her nerves.
And well
was capitalized.
One thing amiss in the castle. She had only seen one thing amiss in the castle.
Comma, she'd still her nerves.
Not impressed as per usual.
As per usual. Well, she'd still her nerves to try to learn what that thing had been looking for in the library, or if there was any hint of where it had gone. The library looked as it had always... Take a look at this sentence. The library looked as it had always had.
Oh, yeah. It looks as it has always had.
As it had always had.
I can see...
That's a rough sentence.
It is. I can see how, like, a normal conversation that might come out of your mouth. I can see how a normal conversation that might come out of your mouth, like using these weird had things. But that is a tongue twister of a sentence, I think. Wait, say it one more time.
The library looked as it had always had. I'm not saying it's grammatically incorrect. However, it would be simpler to say the library looked as it always had.
Yeah. As it had one more time.
The library looked as it had always had.
Yeah, I feel like that could have been just the library looked as it always had.
Mm-hmm.
The library looked as it had always had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be even more of a tongue twister if it was had the library looked as it had always had.
The library had looked as it had always looked had.
So the library looked as it had always had, dim, cavernous, achingly beautiful in its ancient stone architecture and endless corridors lined with books, and totally silent. I saw totally silent vaguely out of my eye as I was reading above, and I thought it said toilet.
The toilets belong in... The stink of the toilets prevents bugs from coming into the books.
Yeah.
Just like the wardrobe.
The wardrobe. The boudoir. I don't know. She knew there were a few scholars and librarians about, but they mostly kept their private studies. The size of the palace was overwhelming. The size of the place was overwhelming. Semicolon. It was a castle in itself. What had that thing been doing here?
Listen, I know that I'm not a huge, reading girl myself, and I'm already mad at Sarah J. Maas. But just hearing, oh, I love books so much. I love reading so much. The library is my favorite place in the palace. It's just kind of silly to me, if I'm being completely honest. I know it's being petty, but...
No, I get you. She craned her head back to take in the 2 upper levels, both bordered with ornate railings. Iron chandeliers cast light and shadow throughout the main chamber. So it's dim, but we've got iron chandeliers casting light and shadow throughout the main chamber. Also, how are you supposed to read in a dim library?
Remember, though, anti-intellectualism, so they want people to not come read in the library.
Oh, no wonder the scholars aren't here. She loved this room. M-Dash loved the scattering of heavy tables and red velvet chairs and the worn couches sprawled before massive hearths. Worn couches? I don't know. I feel like the king might update. You're right, though. It's anti-intellectualism, so we're not going to update the couches in the library. Selena paused beside the table she had always used when researching the weird marks M-Dash, a table at which she'd spent hours with Kaol. 3 levels that she could see. Plenty of places to hide on all of them M-Dash. Rooms and alcoves and half-crumbled staircases.
Man, so
this castle
so much
is
money on your glass
crap.
if you can't afford to fix the stairs. So.
Yes, it's a commentary upon how this kingdom is actually just a facade built upon things that are crumbling, and Selena will be the one revealing them.
Let's just say...
It's all a metaphor, because Maas is just such a good writer.
Let's just say the king of Otterland is in debt up to his eyeballs.
Someone help me. What about beneath this level? The library was probably too far away to connect to the tunnels attached to her rooms. Foolish thought. But there could be more forgotten places beneath the castle. The polished marble floor gleamed under her feet. They spend the time to polish in here? Dang.
No, they don't actually. They just dust. But there's not enough footwork across the floor to unpolish it from last time.
Kaol had said something once.
That's because the real librarian enjoyers fly. They hover. If you ain't hovering, how serious are you? Be so for real.
Like your picture you're looking at?
God forbid a woman do art without reference.
Kaol had said something once about a legend regarding a second library underground, M-Dash, in catacombs and tunnels.
Listen, I know I'm just not liking this book.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
But
yeah, Alexa can't help you with not liking this book.
That is so lame to me. Just a hidden library. Why couldn't they have something where the legends connected to the city being under siege a long time ago? And
a library being burned.
No, well, they thought that the castle would be destroyed or whatever. So, the archivists take all of the books down to the catacombs in an attempt to save them. And then there was, some collapse or whatever, and we haven't been able to access it again.
We don't know if all the books came out again.
And we don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a library.
I came up with that in 15 seconds, okay? Why does it have to be just a secret library hidden in the catacombs?
Catacombs and tunnels. If she were doing something that she didn't want others to find out about, if she were some foul creature who needed a place to hide, ellipse, new paragraph, maybe she was a fool for looking into it, but she had to know. Maybe this thing would be able to give her some clues as to what was going on in this castle, as opposed to the other castle. She headed for the nearest wall and was soon swallowed up in the gloom of the stacks. It took her a few minutes to reach the perimeter wall, which was interspersed with bookcases and chipped writing desks. She pulled a piece of chalk from her pocket and drew an X on one of the desks. Most of the library would probably look the same after a while. It would be helpful to know when she'd made a full sweep of the perimeter, even if it took her hours to cover it. She passed stack after stack of books, some of the cases plain, some of them ornately carved. Sconces were few and far enough apart that she often had to take several steps in near darkness.
Sconces must be like those goblets of fire.
Sconces, I believe, are the holders for torches.
Oh.
I mean, I guess maybe you could have, like, an oil bath in it instead. But I believe the sconce is the holder. I don't know for sure, though. That's just my understanding of the word.
Man, I was about to say, using file to line up your book area, and then I was like, what else are they gonna use?
Yeah.
Let's be real.
They're anti-intellectual, so they don't have electricity yet.
And they don't have magic, so...
Yeah. No lamps of Feyenoord. A few steps in darkness, the floor had turned from gleaming marble to ancient gray blocks, and the scrape of her boots against stone was the only sound. Why is she scraping her boots?
Because
she's gonna wear them out. She's
like
gonna tire herself out. Oh my gosh. If her mom were here, she'd scold her. She'd be like, quit doing that to your shoes.
If her mom was here, she'd be like, Selena, I drowned in the river.
She had her throat cut.
Oh.
Oh, I don't remember. I just know Selena climbed in bed with them.
Selena.
Choking on your own blood, huh?
Yes.
It felt as if it had been the only sound for 1,000 years. Long time, huh? But someone must have come down this passage to light the sconces, so if she became lost, she might not stay that way forever. Not that getting lost was a possibility, she reassured herself as the silence of the library became a living thing. She'd been trained to mark and remember pathways and exits and turns. She'd be fine. Odds were she had to go so far back into the library as possible, to a place where even the scholars didn't bother going. There had been a day she recalled, a day when she'd been poring over The Walking Dead, and she'd felt something under her boots. Kaol had later revealed that he'd been dragging his dagger along the floor to spook her, but the initial vibration had been different. Like someone drawing a claw along stone. How are you going to tell the difference between a claw and a... Yeah, literally. Literally. Vibration-wise, I don't think that's something a human could tell. But wait, she's actually Fae. She simply knows.
She's built different, brother.
Stop it, she told herself. Stop it now. Your imagination is absurd. It was just Kaol teasing you. She talks to herself in second person.
I mean, who doesn't?
Generally that's not how my inner voice goes.
You've never been like, come on, Beth, you can do it. Pave the way, put your back into it.
I mean, sometimes, but that's not generally how it is. Anyways,
I mean,
I just had to tease that.
For you.
Well, I disagree with it because it's not me.
I disagree.
She didn't know how long she'd been walking when she finally hit another wall, a corridor, period. Don't worry, I won't always be saying all of the punctuation. The bookcases here were all carved from ancient wood, their ends shaped into sentries, guards forever protecting the books held between them. It was here that the sconces ran out, and a glance down the back wall of the library revealed utter darkness. Again, did not need an there. Thankfully, one of the scholars had left a torch beside the last sconce. It was small enough that it wouldn't burn the whole damn library down, but also too small to last long.
It seems like a flame of any size could burn the whole damn library down.
You're right by the wooden bookshelves.
Yeah. Like, a mat, you could use that. Your torch.
Also, when it says left a torch beside the last sconce, I assumed it was unlit on the ground.
Yeah.
Lady, as long as you don't put the torch near anything flammable, you won't burn the whole library down. She could end it now with her dagger into her heart, and then I could stop reading. She could end it now and go back to her rooms to contemplate ways to pry information from Archer's clients. One wall had been explored, one wall that revealed nothing. She could do the back wall tomorrow. But she was already here. Selena picked up the torch. Dorian jerked awake at the sound of a clock chiming. It was 10 a.m. Fuck, he'd overslept.
Damn, son, you live like this?
At the sound of a clock chiming, and found himself sweating despite the fierce cold in his bedroom. It was odd enough that he'd fallen asleep, but the frigid temperature was what struck him as most unusual.
You know, KR, the man never sleeps. Justice, incompetence, never sleeps.
Yes, but this is Dorian.
Oh, this is Dorian?
This is Dorian.
I totally thought you said KR.
It's Dorian.
Dorian, you're the crown prince. Why the hell is your room colder?
Literally, his windows were all sealed, his door shut, and yet his shallow breaths clouded in front of him. He sat up, his head aching, a nightmare, of teeth and shadows and glinting daggers. Just a nightmare.
It's just a nightmare, bruv. Daggers, glinting teeth, shadows. Don't worry about it, bro. It's a nightmare, bro. It's over.
Dorian shook his head, the temperature in the room already increasing. Was there a part in the first book that had something to do with weirdly low temperatures? Hope that's not copyrighted ringtone.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Don't you pause?
Yes.
All right.
Phone calls. We love phone calls.
Phone calls. While we were in the middle of that phone call, I was reading the acknowledgments at the end of the book, and I just have to say, Maas says that a good friend and critique partner, Alex Bracken, so grateful for, talked her down off many ledges with writing, and I'm like, gosh dang it, what would have this book been like? Ugh.
Oh yeah, how much worse could it have been?
Yeah. If that's what she's referring to. Reined her in a little bit. Anyways, back to this strangely cold room. The temperature in the room already increasing. Perhaps it had only been a rogue draft. The nap was just the product of staying up too late last night. The nightmare probably triggered by hearing from Kale about Selena's encounter. A bit of underdone potato.
A bit of underdone potato, some moldy cheese, a bit of bad turnip.
Yeah. He gritted his teeth. Her job wasn't without risk, and though he was furious about what had happened... Yo, go add that to the sheet. Furious.
Okay, this is page
108.
And it's
Dorian. And I would say possessiveness is what I would categorize this under primarily, and then secondary, anger. And though he was furious about what had happened, he had a feeling she'd only push him away further if he yelled at her about it.
Yeah.
No duh,
Who
idiot.
wants to get yelled at?
Dorian shook off the last bit of the cold and walked to his dressing room to change his wrinkled tunic. As he turned, he could have sworn he caught a glimpse of a faint ring of frost around where his body had lain on the couch. Ooh, magic! And everyone's gonna continue to insist magic's not real anymore. It's deleted. It's obliterated. It's been Control-Alt-deleted.
Magic got reversed.
Yeah. I have this weird feeling that there was something in the first book involving cold, too.
The only thing I remember is that, like, there were little gifts left outside of Selena's tent.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When that happened, I was like, okay, so obviously there's still magic and she must realize this. And now in this book, she keeps being like, there's no magic.
Except for Nehemia and her kin.
Well, those are the weird marks. They're older than magic. She just knows how to use them.
Yeah. Fuck the ward marks and fuck them.
Anyways, Frost on the couch. But when he looked back to see it more fully, there was nothing there. Selena heard a distant clock chime somewhere, M-dash, and didn't quite believe it when she heard the time. She'd been here for 3 hours. 3 hours without food or water. It just says 3 hours. It just repeats the 3 hours twice. The back wall wasn't like the side wall. Really?
Wow.
It dipped and curved and
You're telling me this library isn't a box?
Yeah.
A perfect cube?
It dipped and curved and had closets and alcoves and little study rooms full of mice and dust. And just when she'd been about to draw an X on the wall and call it a day, she noticed the tapestry. She saw it.
Martin the Warrior, please.
OMG,
Martin the Warrior.
no, don't ruin Martin the Warrior. Not Redwall's famous tapestry. Swear, if there's a mouse on the tapestry, I'm going to find Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to write her a strongly worded letter.
I'm going to write a letter. No, I'm writing a letter.
She saw it only because it was the sole bit of decoration she'd encountered along the wall. Considering how the last 6 months of her life had gone, part of her just knew that it had to mean something. There was no depiction of Elena, or a stag, or anything lovely and green. No. Semicolon. This tapestry, woven from red thread so dark it looked black. You've got a torch? The thread is so dark it looks black. Why are you saying it's red?
If it's black.
If it looks black, also you're under torchlight, so, not ideal settings for distinguishing color.
This is true.
Depicted... Ellipse, nothing. Yeah, because it was made from a dark thread, and all you can see is darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. She touched the ancient strands, marveling at the hue. The black hue, so deep that it seemed to swallow her fingers in the darkness. The hair on the back of her, I don't know, seems like, unless it's magic, of course, seems like a dark background would, in fact, make your hand stand out.
Well, no. Remember how it's like the wall carved? There's actually kind of a bubble behind the wall, and they scripted the tapestry to fit. So the tapestry actually goes into the wall. So she's sticking her hand past the wall because there's a little bump in the...
Oh.
Oh.
I'm glad that's cleared up now.
How peculiar.
The hair on the back of her neck rose, and Selena put a hand on her dagger. Which one? She brought, all of them, as she pulled the tapestry aside. She swore. And swore again. You were so right, Tia. Another secret door greeted her. I'm sure it's inset a little bit. Glancing around the stacks, listening for any footsteps or rustle of clothing, Selena pushed it open. A breeze, musty and thick, floated past her from the depths of the spiral stairwell revealed by the open door.
They got that thick ale down there?
Oh, yeah. It's slurpable.
Eat that ale like souffle?
You've heard of thick water.
Now get ready for thick ale.
The light of her torch reached only a few feet inside, illuminating ornately carved walls depicting a battle. I'm surprised you could tell that from only a few feet of illumination. There was a thin groove in the marble wall.
A battle or an orgy, a little bit hard to tell, given it's only a few feet of light. But she's doing her best.
She's doing her best.
Beth, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
You're right. Well, not if it's got AM PM on it.
Well, they don't have that.
Not if it's a 24-hour clock.
Watch.
There was a thin groove in the marble wall, a channel barely 3 inches deep. It curved along the entire length of the wall, extending beyond the limit of her sight, which was only a few feet. She swiped her finger in the groove. Blood poured out of it. I'm joking, but I was imagining that the channel was on the floor initially, and I was like, oh, for blood. But it was on the wall. She swiped her finger in the groove. It was smooth as glass and held a faint residue of something slimy.
Blood.
OMG, it's blood. It too will look black on her fingers.
Slime mold.
OMG, it's slime mold, my friend. A small silver lamp hung from the wall, and she put her torch in its place as she took down the lamp, liquid splashing inside. Clever, she murmured. No, actually. One normally leaves things that one can ignite for light around dark places in a building. Not that clever. Smiling to herself, making sure her torch was far enough away, Selena placed the slender nozzle of the lamp into the groove and tipped.
Wait, so it's oil leaking down the wall?
I'm sorry. There's a groove barely 3 inches deep running along the wall. That's not well explained. I'm imagining this is something you put your fingers in, like, horizontally, a groove in the wall, not like a shelf in the wall.
Oh, it's a shelf?
That's what it sounds like. It's like a little thing that you can pour oil in, because that's what she's doing now. Then she'll ignite it.
She has a lamp? Or did you pick up the lamp?
She picked up the lamp that was here. Also, I feel like if she can pour it out so easily, I mean, I guess maybe it's like a lamp with like a wick at the end that you can pour past.
Yeah.
Not like a lamp, not like when you hold up and you got a little swingy thing.
Yeah.
Not a kerosene lamp. Add that to the list. No kerosene lamps. Aladdin lamps. Selena grabbed her torch and touched it to the wall. Instantly, the groove glowed with fire, providing a thin line of light all the way down the dark and cobwebbed stairwell. How helpful is that? A hand on her hip, she started down, admiring the engraved surface of the wall orgy. She doubted anyone would come looking for her, but she still put the tapestry back in its original position and took out one of her long daggers. As she descended, the image of battle shifted and moved in the firelight, and she could have sworn that the stone faces turned to watch her. She stopped looking at the walls because she's so scared. A breath of cold air brushed her face, and she at last spied the bottom of the staircase. It was a dark corridor that smelled of aged and rotting things. A torch lay discarded at the bottom of the step. These torches are spread out like breadcrumbs, covered with enough cobwebs to reveal that no one had been down here in a long time. Or there's some really active spiders. Unless that thing can see in the dark. She shoved away the thought, too, and picked up the torch, igniting it in the illuminated wall of the stairwell. Sweet. Now I have two torches. Cool. Now I have two torches.
Now I have 2 bombs.
Igniting it in the illuminated wall of the stairwell. Also, how much oil did she pour?
I know. Oh my goodness. How much oil did...
It's a magic genie lamp. It's actually still pouring up there.
It's a magic oil shake-off.
Yeah. Someone rubbed the lamp and said, I desire only oil. Forever and ever.
This book is so dumb to me.
There's a lot of, you didn't think this through, did you? Cobwebs hung from the arched ceiling, grazing over the cobblestone floor. Big cobwebs. Big spiders. Oh my gosh, this is the same chapter with the rats. There better be big spiders to go with the big rats.
Big rat. 1,200 pound rat, let's go. A Shelob, I think you mean Ungoliant.
Ungoliant couldn't fit down here.
You know, that's so chill.
What are you talking about?
Ungoliant's, she's too big. It's about the Powell. The whole Powell is massive.
Yeah. Rickety bookcases lined the walls. Suddenly not worried about the fire and the books, okay? The shelves crammed full of books so worn that Selena couldn't read the titles. Scrolls and pieces of parchment were stuffed into every nook and cranny, or lay unrolled on the sagging wood, as if someone had just walked away from the reading them. Somehow, it was more of a tomb than Elena's resting place. She walked down the corridor, stopping occasionally to examine the scrolls. They were maps and receipts from the kings long since turned to dust. Castle records. All of this walking and fretting, and all you've discovered is useless castle records. That's probably what the creature was after. An ancient king's grocery bill.
Wait, is it in italicized?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's her extra internal dialogue because this is all already her POV. Beginning a chant of truly despicable curses, Selena waved her torch before her, igniting several spider webs and watching them burn away as she walked on until a hallway appeared on the left. No one will ever know how much I'm making up of this chapter.
Wait, you made up stuff?
Yeah.
What did...
The igniting the cobwebs.
Man, I kept it to myself, but I thought, oh, you're not afraid of burning the books now, are ya? Oh my goodness!
It's transformative. Anyways, until a hallway appeared on the left, it had to lead even lower than Elena's tomb, but how deep? There was a lantern and a groove in the wall, so Selena once again lit the spiraling passage. This time, the greystone depicted a forest. A forest and Fae.
Forest orgy! Woo!
Finally, let's get some Fae on Fae action. It was impossible to miss those delicately pointed ears and elongated canines.
Yeah, who give a shit? Who give a
shit? They got dog teeth. They're dogs. They've got pointed ears and long canine teeth. They're dogs. The Fae lounged and danced and played music, content to bask in their immortality and eternal beauty. No, the king and his cronies couldn't know about this place, because they certainly would have defaced these carvings by now. Selena didn't need a historian to know that this stairwell was old,
old as balls.
Old as balls, old as bones, as I like to say. Far older than the one through which she just ascended, perhaps even older than the castle itself. Why had Gavin picked this site to build his castle? Had there been something here before? You'll notice that actually societies, cultures build on top of old cultures.
See, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, I think it's lame because the book's lame, but
in reality, this is something that cultures do.
And especially, like, isn't his wife half Fae? Maybe she knows something about it. She's like, this is a good place to build.
Yeah.
Oh, she's like, let's build on top of a Fae
burial ground. I want to dance on their bones. They're my enemies, or they were. Actually, the eneminess is also eternal, even after they're dead.
So far the Fae have been described as having pointed ears and long canines?
They have been described as delicately pointed ears, elongated canines, and ethereal beauty.
Yeah, well, I ain't gonna draw ethereal beauty, okay? I'm not that good. I'm not that guy.
I'm not that guy.
Ethereal beauty? Blobfish.
Yeah. Perhaps even older than the castle itself. Why had Gavin built here? Had there been something here before? Or something beneath it worth hiding? A cold sweat slithered down her spine as she peered into the stairwell. Against all odds, another breeze wafted up from below. Iron. It smelt like iron. I'm not sure why you'd say against all odds. I mean, I guess you'd have a low probability of a breeze in here, I guess, is what they're saying. I don't know. It just seemed weird. The images on the walls flickered as she descended the spiral staircase. When she at last reached the bottom, she took a shallow breath and ignited a torch from a nearby bracket. She was in a long hallway paved in gray stones. There was only one door in the center of the left-hand wall, and no exit save for the stairs behind her. Nice place to be trapped by a giant rat.
The rat, my leash.
She scanned the hall. Nothing. Not even a mouse, 'cause the rat ate them. After observing for another moment, she stepped down it, igniting the few torches on the wall as she went. The iron door was unremarkable, though undeniably impenetrable. Nice. Unremarkable, undeniably impenetrable door. It was unremarkable. It can't be unremarkable, but then also undeniably impenetrable, because impenetrable is quite a remarkable thing for a door.
Oh, and undeniably so.
Undeniably so. 2 pages to go. Its studded surface was like a slab of starless sky. So dark?
Dark? I thought it was unremarkable.
Yeah.
More
Selena
evidence of
stretched.
Sarah J. Maas writing one thing and being like, nah, actually.
Actually, I'm not even going to delete that sentence.
I lied to you in the first half. Not gonna lie. I am going to lie. I change my mind a lot while I'm writing, and it's
I
still
don't
in the
delete.
text.
If I just had to go and delete a whole sentence of my hard written fic because the sentence didn't work, Maas can go and delete that the door was unremarkable.
Literally.
Selena stretched out a hand, but stopped before her fingers could graze the metal. Why was it made entirely of iron?
Yeah.
What, because Faye have
Faye
a
dislike
iron
iron,
allergy?
you? Well,
I don't know, but it's something that's in other Faye stuff.
oh, for sure. AU. I was wondering if it had been mentioned in this. But
I don't recall. Iron was the well,
I'm sure she'll tell us directly
Yeah.
in an unelegant way.
iron was the one element immune to magic. She remembered that much. There had been so many kinds of magic wielders 10 years ago, people whose power was believed... Okay, granted 10 years ago, she was 8. People whose power was believed to be by some to have long ago originated from the gods themselves, despite the king of Adarlan's claim that magic was an affront to the divine. Wherever it came from, magic had countless variations, abilities to heal, to shapeshift, to summon flame or water or storm, to encourage the growth of crops and plants, to glimpse the future, and on and on. Most of those gifts had been watered down over the millennia, but for some rare strong ones, when they held on to their power too long, the iron in their blood caused fainting spells, or worse. I don't think that means it's immune to magic. Because it says if you use magic too much, it reacts to the iron in your blood and you faint or something bad happens. I would say it reacts to magic.
Well, no, I think the magic is reacting to the iron. We said iron is immune to magic, not that magic is immune to iron.
Oh, my bad. So right. I thought it was a commutative property of language, but I was wrong. She had seen hundreds of doors in the castle, doors of wood, of bronze, of glass, but never one of solid iron. This one was ancient. Also, she cannot possibly know it is solid iron. She might only know that the outside layer appears to be iron. Just saying. This one was ancient, from a time when an iron door meant something. So was this supposed to be kept? So was this supposed to keep someone out, or to keep something in?
Oh!
Selena touched the eye of Elena, scanning the door again. With it, she had true sight.
You didn't say that?
No. It yielded no answers about what might be behind it, so she clamped a hand around the handle and pulled. It was locked. There was no keyhole in sight. She ran a hand along the grooves. Perhaps it had rusted shut? She frowned.
It was locked.
No sign of rust either. So true. Selena stepped back, studying the door. Who put a handle on it if there was no way of opening it? And why use a lock? unless there was something worth hiding behind it. Clearly, it's locked from the other side.
Clearly, these doors were made
it's
to
magic.
auto back in the day. They'll usually hold to lock something, but this one came from the thrift store, and the thrifty little fae building it were like, I'll take this door for cheap instead of a proper door with no lock for free. We'll just hide the key from the kids and they can't lock themselves in.
And why was a useless lock on it? Yeah. She turned away, but the amulet warmed against her skin and a flicker of light shone through her tunic. Selena paused. Elena was calling. It could have been the flicker of the...
collect. Accept the charges. Let me guess. Wait. Let me guess. This is going to be connected to her seeing through the eye and somehow opening the door.
I don't know.
Like the riddle.
But it just said that her necklace is shining, right? And then the very next sentence, new paragraph says, it could have been the flicker of a torch, but...
It wasn't.
Ellipsis. Like, I'm sorry, are you moving on to a new thing, or are you saying Selena thought the light from her tunic could have been from the torch? I think she's moved on to another thing, but it was just really weird. To talk about one light thing, and then say it, which it refers back...
to what you had talked about.
Yeah, and the last it would have been something about the amulet and light shining through her tunic. But Selena studied the slender gap between the door and the stone. Clearly not impenetrable, actually, because there's clearly a gap. Just saying, the door's not impenetrable. A shadow, darker than the blackness beyond, lingered on the other side. That does not make sense. So you're telling me there's a slender gap between the door and the stone, and through this slender gap...
She can see a darker darkness.
She can see a darker darkness on the other side.
Yeah,
but, like,
that makes sense.
Is it only in parts? Because how can she tell it's darker than the darkness beyond? Like, she can see, like, a spot through this little gap?
It?
Yeah, it says... A shadow darker than the blackness beyond lingered on the other side. How does she know how dark it is beyond unless she's, like, seeing part of the shadow?
She knows this because of the poor ventilation. She's getting monoxide poisoning.
Oh, gee. She's carbon monoxide?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. She shouldn't have lit that torch.
It's that
carbon dioxide is getting to her as well, I guess. Slowly drawing out her thinnest and flattest dagger with her free hand, she set the torch down and lay on her stomach, as close to the door as she dared. Just shadows, It was just shadows.
It was
period.
A rat.
Or rats. Also, I'm sorry. So, wait, she saw this gap at the bottom of the door?
I thought it was at the side of the door, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, she couldn't have seen a thin gap at the bottom of the door like that. She couldn't have, like, seen through it to see beyond. It would be cut off. The rats aren't even pleasing me. Either way, she had to know. With absolute silence, she slid the shining dagger under the door. The reflection along the blade revealed nothing but darkness.
How is she... Hold on.
Darkness and torchlight.
Really?
Yeah. I'm so peeved right now. I am so peeved with this chapter. Like, you've said how frustrated you were with previous chapters, and I haven't, like, quite gotten, like, that frustration you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't good, but why are you so frustrated? But I am so peeved with this chapter. There have been so many descriptions that don't make sense, that are, like, contrary to things that have been said before, and it's just, like, a mess. This chapter is a mess. Anyways, I understand your passionate dislike for other chapters now.
My aggravation?
Yeah.
Well, aggroed.
I'm aggravated. I'm really peeved. I am just... Maybe it's because I was working on my writing today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so peeved.
You're like, this BS is getting published? I'm slaving over which of these 7 sentences is the best to include. The other ones have to go. And Sarah J. Maas can get published by just saying, fuck it, All of them.
Word soup. Anyways, let's see what happens. When there was nothing revealed from the reflection except for darkness and torchlight, she shifted the dagger, pushing it just a bit further beneath.
Oh yeah.
Beneath what?
This is what I want to say. What? So is she's looking under the door.
She's on her belly. On her belly she will crawl.
Through the door, but she has to reflect it back so she can see into it. Right?
Oh my gosh. How is she seeing much of the blade?
How is she lifting the knife to get a good reflection to one, reflect against, well, I guess if it's laying flat, it can reflect against something. But she has to reflect that knife so it can get back into her eyesight.
Yes, and it has to be getting the torchlight because she didn't lay the torch flat, did she? Mm-hmm. That'd be weird, really weird to just
well, she said lay it on the ground, so I would suppose it's horizontal.
Did it say she laid the torch down?
I think so.
She set this torch down.
Oh, set it down.
And then she laid on her stomach.
I mean,
so I don't know where it is, but either way, how do you have the torchlight at such an angle that it's hitting the knife, and then you have the knife at such an angle that you can see the reflection of it when it's going under a thin opening?
Okay, I thought the torchlight was from the other side of the door.
Oh, no.
Okay. No, so I guess if the door was parallel with her face, I reckon she could be holding the knife under the door, and instead of having it perpendicular to the door, so it's straight through, she has it put in at an angle so it's almost parallel with the underside of the door. That would give her some of the blade to see, but that's still not much.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much of a gap is there underneath the door that she can see past the thickness of the blade to see the width of it to get the reflection?
Also, so we're at the bottom of a door, right? There's a thin gap around the door, right?
This door was my Roman Empire.
How thin is the handle on this dagger that she's getting the blade underneath?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Is this butter knife quality?
Yeah, and also how thick is the gap under the door?
She could totally have a dagger that's like that. I'm just saying, it's got to be a very small dagger.
And instead of the whole thinnest dagger, it hasn't been specified as being a thin, fishbone dagger or anything like that.
Yeah. Not one of her hairpins. Anyways, while you were talking, I looked down the page and I saw something kind of even more making me go...
Okay, read it to me, beloved.
She shifted the dagger, pushing it just a bit further beneath. 2 gleaming green gold orbs flashed into the shadows beyond.
Orbs?
Orbs.
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 Orbs. Orbs. Green gold. OMG,
I'm not saying it again.
OMG.
Does he have green gold eyes?
Yes.
Have they been described as orbs?
No. As far as I remember, it's been a while since I've read that book.
She lunged back. How doth one lunge back from lying on one's stomach?
Her face right up against I guess she could put her hands against the door and
yeah, but can you lunge back?
I don't think you can lunge back.
I don't think you can lunge back from the floor.
She can push herself back. She can jerk back. She can throw it back. But
I think it's hard to throw it. Well, you could just raise your butt and throw it back. You gotta raise your
ass and then go.
Anyways.
No,
you can't lunge back from lying prone on the floor. I'm pretty sure that's not a lunge. Look it up. What is a lunge? What is a lunge specifically? We got to find this out for anyone who's made it 48 minutes in.
What is the definition? What is the
define lunge?
Definition of a... I think I spelled it wrong. Hold on.
That's a lounge.
Okay.
Just remove the O. Don't be so fancy.
To a sudden movement forward of the body.
Forward.
Typically with an arm outstretched to attack someone or seize something. He made a lunge at her.
You literally...
Make a lunge.
You literally cannot lunge backwards. It is a forward movement.
I think you could lunge...
You cannot lunge backwards. It is forward. Yeah. It is forward.
Who give a shit?
Me. I'm peeved.
I give a shit.
Anyways, so she did an impossible act backwards, swinging the dagger with her, biting down on her lip to keep from cursing aloud. Eyes gleaming in the dark, eyes like an ellipse. She sighed through her noise, relaxing slightly. Her nose.
I've lost my...
Eyes like an animal, like a rat, or a mouse, or some feral cat.
Rat. I didn't know rats had green eyes in this story.
No, it's a reflection from the tapetum lucidum.
Oh, okay. That happens with rats too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have tapetum lucidums.
What light?
If you see in the dark, you've got a tapetum lucidum.
What light is getting from the torch, down the door, under the door frame, and up to reflect into the eyes of this creature?
It's also going to be tiny to see through this little gap. Yeah. Unless actually there's a drop on the other side, so someone's standing over there with their eyes just like
looking up
at the top of the door waiting to come out.
You want a toy boat? Want a balloon? Flying up?
Want a dagger?
What's some of the things that Pennywise says?
I don't know. Believe it or not, I don't know it.
I don't know it. Whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever that is, as apparently it is called in Spanish. Still, she crept forward again, holding her breath as she angled the blade under the door to scan the darkness. Enough light does not reflect off of this little dang blade, off of this torch to really be able to scan. Okay, I'm stopping. I'm continuing on with the story, little though it may be. Nothing, absolutely nothing. She watched the dagger's blade for a full minute, waiting for those eyes to reappear. But whatever it was had scuttled off. A rat. It was probably a rat. Still, Selena couldn't shake the chill that had wrapped around her or ignore the warmth of the amulet at her neck. Even if there wasn't a creature behind the door, answers lay behind it, and she'd find them, just not today. Not until she was ready.
She's so fucking lame.
Because there might be a way to get through the door, and considering how old this place was, she had a feeling that the power that had sealed it was connected to the weird marks. But if there was something behind the door, she shifted the fingers on her right hand as she picked up her torch, studying the arc of scars left by the Ritterak's bite. It was just a rat, and she had no interest, none, in being proven wrong right now.
Dun, dun,
I'm too annoyed with the chapter to even enjoy the ending of the 12,000-pound rat waiting for her on the other side of the door. Staying alive. Okay, yeah. My main takeaway, I hope you don't mind me going first.
Oh, go for it.
My main takeaway is that this chapter has been the first serious proof I have for myself of actually seeing it with my own eyes and not just listening, that Maas does a lot of word soup, that her descriptions are nonsense, and if you spend 5 seconds thinking about them and not just going, wee, fantasy, you'll realize it doesn't make sense. And it's said by someone who has not thought through this. That's my takeaway.
I can call. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of thought going into what's happening. Not that I'm a big writer, but this seems more like the kind of writing vomit I would do in school, to be just get the ideas out and then refine it later. If this book can get published, then anyone can get published, I guess. And I don't have anything nicer to say.
Ding! Thanks for joining us, everyone. This one was a pretty rough chapter. We had a lot of things to say, a lot of not nice things to say, but we never do. And that's what you're here for if you made it this far. So have a nice time, everyone.
Toodles.